This is the plaintiff, Jamie Latson. He says he gave the defendant a security deposit on an apartment he was renting. And before he even moved in, he discovered the place had 16 code violations on it. No one in their right mind would live in that place. The stubborn defendant refuses to return his deposit, and he's here in the name of justice, seeking the return of his hard-earned $675. This is the defendant, Barbara Hoffman. She says she's been renting this apartment since 1980, and this is a first, and this plaintiff takes the cake. The guy moved his girlfriend and baby into the place 5 days early, before there was gas or even electricity turned on. The plaintiff's mother then got involved and went ballistic over her prorating the rent. A big argument ensued, and, well, here they are. She's accused of multiple code violations.
All parties, please raise your right hands. You seated? Come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas. Mr. Latson?
Yes.
You're suing Ms. Hoffman for a return of your security deposit, plus you want to be paid for painting that you did to a place that you hadn't even signed a lease yet on.
Correct.
Okay, what happened here?
Well, I was actually at home. My mother happened to call me. She's like, hey, I found a place for you. I want you to go look at it. We go look at it, and I should have knew something was wrong then, because she never came upstairs to show us the place. It was me and another person going to look, and
The other person was someone looking to rent it as well?
Correct.
So she had kind of like an open house at a certain time, just meet everybody there and rent it to the first person you like?
Correct.
Yeah.
So she stood downstairs. And,
why is that bad? You said I should have known something was wrong.
Yeah, because usually landlords walk you through the place. She didn't. She just stood downstairs and just said, go up and look. And so we did. We filled out the application.
Who's we?
Well, I did, and another person that was there looking at it.
So there's a little bit of stress going on there, a little bit of tension, because both of you want it?
Yeah, yes. We both wanted it. And she called me on a Monday. And that following Monday, and was like, hey, I'm going to give you the place. And I was excited to move in. I've been saving forever to get it.
Is this your first apartment?
It is. It is. Well, it's actually my second apartment.
Can I ask you how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 26.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's actually my second. But I was just excited. I was just like, okay, it's mine. I can't wait.
It's in a historical area, right?
Yeah. So I was excited about that as well. And I just couldn't wait to get it and cook.
Who lived in that area?
Many people who...
But most notably...
Susan B. Anthony.
Yeah, that's really cool. Susan B. Anthony.
Yeah.
How did you learn that? Not in that particular place, but in the neighborhood?
Yeah, just the neighborhood. The whole neighborhood is just her. Susan B. Anthony, the whole neighborhood.
All right, so anyway, go ahead.
So I actually walked through. She called me. I said, okay, well, I would love to have it. I met with her on the 4th.
When do you give her the deposit?
On the 4th. Okay,
how much was the rent?
$475. Yeah, so I gave her the security deposit. I've never signed a lease with her. Gave her the security deposit, and I asked her,
When did you give her the security deposit? What day?
On the 4th.
And then what happens? You ask her what?
I asked her, with some things that needed to be done in the place. So
what did you say?
I asked her, I tell her, hey, I'll paint if you prorate the rent, because, she was kind of, up in age. So I didn't want to put the stress on her. I can do the work, and you just prorate the rent and stuff. And I did. I never moved in or anything. It was just I go there 6 o'clock in the morning.
How much was she going to prorate the rent?
She only prorated $70.
And you both, so that was the deal you guys struck. She would prorate the rent by $70.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what happens?
She wrote. So I filled out a receipt.
Can I see what you signed? You said you filled out a receipt. What are you talking about? Who's the person next to you who keeps raising their hand? Keep your hand down. I'll get to you in a minute if you have something to do with the case. He's 26. I know the urge, believe me. I clean up after my 22 and 21-year-old all day long. Okay. All right.
So both of these?
Okay, so she gave you a receipt to acknowledge your security. That's good.
Correct.
And so what else?
So I asked her, after I got done painting, she brought the lease over for me to sign. I said, well, hey, before I sign it, can we, do a walkthrough? She's like, no. Sign the lease, and then we'll walk through the place. I said I wasn't going to do it. I'm not going to sign a lease till you come upstairs and look, at least at what I've painted, so you can know. I took pictures, everything like that. So she comes to the doorway, and as she's coming in, she's just so adamant about me signing this lease before she comes up. So I didn't do it. The registers on the floor where the heat comes through, there was none there. Like, you can literally fall through. So I wanted to point those out to her. I'm in there painting one morning. It was about 6:30, and I'm just like, well, what is this running by me? And he ran straight to a hole, and it was a mouse. So now I'm like, okay, we need to talk about some things. The mirror in the bathroom wasn't replaced.
Did you note all these things before you handed over money and agreed that you were going to rent it?
Yeah, under the understanding that she would, at least meet me halfway to take care of it.
Right, but when you say under the understanding, there's the understanding in between your ears and there's the understanding between two people. Why is there not, what happened there? What happened here, according to you?
On the 4th, when I gave him the keys so he could start painting, that evening there was a blue car in the driveway. And the blue car in the driveway was apparently a friend that was staying overnight. I'm thinking that it's the cousin that's going to come and help paint. Meanwhile, the tenants downstairs tell me that there is a woman and a child in the apartment upstairs, and the child is playing peekaboo with them, all right, in the yard. On Wednesday evening, we take out...
How old was the child, supposedly? How old is the child?
A child.
She's 2.
Okay.
All right. So, meanwhile, Geraldine called me. The mother called.
Do you know Geraldine from before this?
I live in that district since 1980. My husband and I are in our house since 1985. So, it's a small district. So, Geraldine knew me, and she knew people that lived on Madison Street. She was very, very happy to know me and very happy that her son would be renting this apartment. When she called and was very upset about the prorate and about, all right.
What was she upset about the prorate?
That it wasn't enough.
Okay.
Okay.
And what else did she say?
I said to her, okay, and I'm concerned about the blue car and the child and the woman and the child, they're staying in the apartment. And she's like, what do you mean? I don't know anything about that. And I said to her, well, the tenants downstairs have informed me. And on Wednesday evening, I take out the trash, all right? They're toters, all right? And I was putting trash in there, and there were diapers in the trash. And she was just like, beyond herself.
Were you shocked that there was a woman and a baby? Because she's renting to him, not to him and a woman and a baby. It's a different...
What I was shocked at when she said she went into the garbage can and found the diaper, and I let her know that his girlfriend come and pick him up and take him to work because he goes over there at 6 o'clock in the morning between 6 and 7 to paint that apartment.
So what ends up happening? Can I ask you guys a question? What ends up happening? How does a standoff happen?
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. So can a tenant refuse to pay rent if there are building code violations? What do you think?
Probably. I would think so.
Why?
Because, I mean, if it's a contract that they're in to pay for it and the person breaks it, then I would think the tenant wouldn't have to pay.
Fair enough. What do you say?
I think they can withhold some of the rent, maybe not all the rent, based upon how much degradation is due to the code violation.
That's a perfect answer. Perfect. Okay, going inside the courtroom.
When she came over with the lease, I asked her, I said, can you come up and at least look at the registers on the floor? Like, my child was over there that morning, and I did change her diaper. She's 2. So when she came over,
I want to wrap it up and
No, it was wrapped up, and it was in a bag. Actually, that's why I was like, you had to open a bag.
Was it in a bag?
No, it wasn't in the bag.
That's she has maintained that it was just thrown in.
Okay.
But anyway, so you say I will not sign a lease, and what do you say to that? Until you go upstairs and look at stuff, and what do you say?
He didn't say that he wouldn't sign a lease. He said that he would pay the rent on the 11th, and that we should meet on the 11th, which was a Saturday. When we met on the 11th, all right, they demanded the security back. Mother and son.
Okay.
Demanded the security back, all right, and, okay, mother said, all right, go get your stuff. We're leaving.
What happened before that?
All right. We were standing outside. Nothing happened before that.
It did.
What happened when we went on the 4th, that's when he gave her the money for $475. She did not want to come upstairs anything. So when we walked back on the 11th, we went back over there to give her the other money that she wanted prorated. We said to her, there are some things that we need to address. Could you please come upstairs? She didn't even want to come upstairs either time to even address anything.
Okay. And then what?
So finally she goes into the room. She didn't say nothing. The next thing she said, I don't think this is going to work for you. I want my keys back. And he said, your keys, I just painted your apartment. She says, I want my keys. This is not going to work for you. She said, I gave you the apartment as is. And I said, well, according to the Craigslist ad, it didn't say as is. I said, any landlord would do repairs. There was a broken window. That picture's here, a broken window in the living room. The register, you could put your feet through it, needed to be repaired. The mice hole in the living room, because when we went the first time, Judge, it was 2 other people up there besides us.
Yeah, I know, and that's, but just, right. And so what you wanted was to make sure she couldn't rent to the other 2 people and then later negotiate stuff. You understand how you can't do that?
I just asked her if she would do the repairs.
According to you, there's a bunch of violations in this place.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, what happened was
you called the city?
The city. And then
you called them?
No, I didn't.
No, she did, but I didn't.
You did?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Because
I wonder, was that place livable because of the things that we seen?
So the city went?
When we went upstairs, Geraldine called the police. She called the police on me because I would not return the security deposit. That's where we were.
Okay, but I want to know about violations. That's what I want to know. Because I've been handed into evidence a list of like 16 violations.
We have a certificate of occupancy.
You do or you don't?
Not at the moment.
Then you can't rent it. You know that.
The certificate of occupancy works with the city of Rochester, and they were minor issues.
I don't
and the
care.
Certificate of occupancy.
The law is that you cannot rent it. If it's so minor, why don't you take care of it? You can't rent it out until you have the C of O. That's the law, right? You know that, right? Yes or no? Do you know that?
I do know that.
Okay, then for that reason, you need to return the deposit. That's the law. All right. How much was the deposit that you put down? $475?
$475.
And then what else are you suing for? You want $200 to paint, but here's
yes, because well, when I didn't want to, move. But when she came and said, this isn't a good fit for you,
right. But nobody ever agreed to pay you $200 to paint. But I think I'm going to make you both absorb the risk of having done that. I'm going to order to pay you $100 for the paint job. Okay. $575 verdict for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
Well, no doubt both parties have learned something from this case. The plaintiff's going to get his $475 back plus $100 for painting. Ms. Hoffman, you obviously learned something because you didn't have the right to rent it. What do you think about that?
When you are working on a certificate of occupancy, that is agreeable with the city of Rochester.
You didn't have it.
We were working on it.
But you didn't have it.
All right.
Working on it's one thing, having it's something else,
That's
right?
Correct.
Am I right?
That's correct.
That's what the judge said.
That's
you
correct.
didn't have it, you didn't have the right to rent it. Well, you've learned something, haven't you, from this?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Do you have a certificate of deposit of occupancy yet?
No, we have changed. This will be the 3rd inspector for that particular piece of property.
You still don't have a CO?
No.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Oh, boy,
this
oh,
week.
boy. Well, you learned something today, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You better get it before you run it out again. All right. Mr. Lautzen, I think you learned something too.
I did.
Sorry, don't paint before you have a real solid deal.
Don't paint anything.
Your mom's a big help here, huh?
She is.
Well, guess what?
What?
She rented it again with no C of O. It's rented now.
It is?
Yes. People living in there now with no C of O. We went back down again once we saw it reposted on Craigslist for $495, and there's the same violations and no C of O. So people living there now without one.
How about that? Well, both of you learned something, so good going, okay?
Right.
Congratulations. Thank you. Glad you got your money back. Okay. Harvey, what do you think?
Okay, I've got to say, this guy just nailed it, that it's true. I mean, just because there's a violation here, a violation there, doesn't mean that the tenant can stop paying rent, and sometimes not even paying, they have to pay all the rent. In a case like this, though, it was an illegally rented apartment. There was not a certificate of occupancy, and that just disqualifies the landlord.